I'm Scott Ragsdale of Scott Ragsdale Woodworking and Clockwork. Today is our second video of our 1910 Seth Thomas 89C movement repair. In today's video we'll be cleaning the clock parts in an ultrasonic cleaner. We'll be polishing the pivots and doing some rebushing work to the movement and getting the movement ready to put back together. I hope that you enjoy this video, so let's continue with this clock repair. Okay, what I have here is my ultrasonic cleaner. I have gone ahead and put some clock cleaner in here that you can purchase from Time Savers. It's Magic Ultrasonic Cleaner, and so I do have 10 parts water to 1 part of the cleaning solution in here. And so what we're going to do now with this ultrasonic cleaner is we're going to go ahead and go to the maximum amount of time, which is 480 seconds. And we're going to run this several times and put parts in here to clean them. What I recommend is 2 to 3 cycles of 480 for each set of parts you put in. And then of course those parts have to be taken out, put in cold water, soaked in that cold water to clean all the soap off. Then it has to be dried. And what I like to do, and some people may find this funny, but after I use a blow dryer to help get most of the water off the parts, I go ahead and preheat an oven to 175, and I'll put those parts in there in the oven for about 30 to 35 minutes to let those parts dry completely. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and turn the heater on, because you do want this to be heated up very thoroughly. And once that heater is ready, we'll go ahead and start putting our parts in there and running them through a cycle to start cleaning them. Okay, we have put all the, not all the parts, but some of the parts down here in the ultrasonic cleaner. We have one of the face plates down in here, along with some of the time side wheels, which include the escape wheel and all those on the time train in the movement. We also have the verge and the hour, minute, hand device pieces in there, and levers as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to do 2 cycles of 480. As you can see, the red light is on. The heater has heated up on the ultrasonic cleaner. So I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on there, and we're going to run 2 cycles of that, and then we will repeat the same process with the strike side. And also part of the strike side, I will have all of our small parts, like our nuts and screws, little clips and things like that. I do have a small parts basket that we put those in to keep those from falling through the bigger holes in the basket in the cleaner. So we will do that. Also, we will also clean all of those parts as well. So we're going to go ahead and start this. As you can see, when it starts cleaning, it starts making a noise, and that is the ultrasonic part of the cleaner that actually bubbles up and causes that detergent to agitate, and it helps clean those parts of all the grease and oil and grime and dirt or anything else that's on them. Okay, to save some time on video, I have run 2 cycles of the ultrasonic cleaner on the time side of the movement. So right now we're going to remove the lid. We're going to shake off any excess moisture. And I've also run a sink of water over here. This water is what we will soak these pieces in and let it rinse the detergent off. As I said earlier, I like to rinse, put it on a towel to soak up some of the moisture, use a blow dryer, and then put them in the oven at 175 for 30 to 35 minutes and let it dry thoroughly. It does not hurt the parts at all. There are other methods people like to try. Some people like to put the pieces into rubbing alcohol as soon as they take them out of the well, they put them in water out of the cleaner, but then they take them out of the water and put them into the rubbing alcohol. But I do prefer the method of drying in the oven. So this is the back plate of the movement. This is on the inside. As you can see, we've cleaned. There's the back side of the movement. So we are going to go ahead and put that down in the water and let that soak. And we're going to come over and we'll remove some of these other pieces as well. So I'm going to finish removing these pieces, and we're going to put the strike side in, and we'll also put it in with a small parts basket. This is the small parts basket. I've already put those parts in there. So as soon as I finish unloading this into the water, we'll go ahead and load the strike side. We will run that through the cycle twice, just as we did with the time side, and we'll also put the front plate in there as well. And then once they're done with the water, I'm going to go ahead and move these pieces over to the towel, to the blow dryer, and then to the oven. And from there, we'll go ahead and start putting those pieces out to put back together. Now, the other thing that I'll do before we put those pieces together and before we do our any rebushing or anything that's necessary, we will go ahead and polish the pivots. I do highly recommend polishing pivots while cleaning the clock. That takes any little imperfections or any rough spots out of those pivots, and ultimately you may have to rebush, but the clock will run much better and run for much longer if done appropriately. Okay, I just pulled out the last of the mainspring winders from cleaning. I also have all the clock parts that I put on trays to put into the oven at 175, already out of the cleaner and blow dried. But I just wanted to show you real quickly how dirty the clock was as we put the soap in earlier, the cleaner in earlier. It was more of a yellow color, and as you can see, this has turned very, very dark green, and of course that's from all the oil and everything that has come off of the grease type feel that has came off of the clock. So this is everything in the clock has been cleaned. We're about to dry this and get this spring into the oven. The other has been dried and is ready to go as well for additional drying in the oven. So just wanted to show how dirty the clock was by showing you the cleaner and everything that it cleaned. Everything was run through for 16 minutes worth of cleaning time, and that would have been everything on the time side, on the time train side, everything on the strike train side, all of the levers, the springs, the small parts that hold the clock faces together, both face plates and both mainsprings have been through this cleaner. So now we're going to move on to the additional drying stage, and from there we'll get all the parts back out, and we'll get ready to start cleaning some pivots on the wheels and the stems and pinions and everything. It looks like so far all of the lantern pinions are okay. They've come out pretty clean, and we'll show you those shortly. Okay, we're here at the drill press to go ahead and start polishing some of the pivots. As you can see, I've got one of the wheels loaded. I don't have one of the fancy lathes like some clock repairmen do, but maybe one day I'll be able to get a lathe. But what we're going to do is run the drill press on low speed. We're going to use a emery buff, which is a 6-0 emery buff, and we're going to use that to try to polish the pivots. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Okay, so that is one side of that pivot, so we're going to go ahead and unload it. and not sure that you can see very well in the light, but we did polish that pivot. Try to get it ready to go back into the clock. It looks like a nice smooth polish. So next we're going to load in the top side into the drill press, and then we will polish this side of the pivot here. And we will unload that and take a look at this one to see how these pivots look. And not sure that you can see that very well either, but we did shine up a good bit here and polish the pivot there. So we will move on to the next one. The next pivot, we'll go ahead and start off with the bottom side. We'll go ahead and load this in. We'll tighten up on the drill press. We'll go ahead and get started. And we're not having to remove a lot of, we're just trying to smooth out each pivot, so we're not trying to remove a lot of any of the pivot material. So we'll go ahead and tighten up on this one, and we'll repeat the process on the next portion of the wheel. Take a look at this pivot here, see what it looks like so we can get it out. So as we can see, it looks like a pretty good shine on both pivots. And really you're not just trying to get a shine on the pivots, you're just trying to clean off any rough edges or any imperfections that it may have caused in years use between both the front and back plates. So we're going to go ahead and get the rest of these wheels done, and when we are finished, we'll go back to the workbench to start looking at what may be needed in the plates, if bushings are needed or not. Okay, I'm back at the workbench with the front and back plates, and what we're going to do now is we're going to start with the time side by inserting the wheels into the bushings, and then we're going to be checking to see if we need to replace any of the bushings. So we're going to start off putting these wheels in place. And then that way we can check for the time train and make sure that it is working correctly. And we'll insert the mainspring wheel. And of course, we can we'll go ahead and put that in later. We're going to check this for now. So now what we'll do is try to put this plate in. And we're going to try to ease this plate down. And we'll go ahead and say that you know, these movements are not the easiest to get back together. Let's see what is what may be holding us up here. Work some of these into their bushing spots. Okay. There it is. Front side. To do as we go is to go ahead and empty some of these small parts here. And go ahead as we go and start tightening up on some of the nuts on the back. And again, we're just doing the time side only right now. We're not going to concentrate quite yet on the strike side. Go ahead and get these put in, and as I said earlier, these are not the easiest of things to deal with. You do have to have a lot of patience if you're going to deal with cleaning clogs or repairing clogs. I'm going to try to tighten down just a tad, and let's see if we can go ahead and start putting some of these other pieces together. Started. Not wanting to go very well. Let me try the other one over here. Let's see if we can get that going. There we go, it's tightening up. So now what we want to look at, as you can see here, when I mess with the movement, you can see where, you know, it is running. So we do have free movement in all the wheels. So that is very good. But what we want to look for now is to see if we have any major movement as we move back and forth. And what we're looking for is some rocking placed, and right now it does not look like there's a tremendous amount of movement. This one here is questionable. And this is only on the front side of the movement, so the escapement wheel looks like it may, trying to look, it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of back and forth play. And let's see, we'll keep looking. There looks like there may be a little play in this one here, as we said earlier. Let's look at the back side. And again, on the back side, that one there does look susceptible to having a little bit too much play. This one here could be questionable. The escapement looks like it may be okay. But I'm trying to check on some of these others. So I think these two on both sides are definitely questionable. Yeah, you can definitely see that one jumping around now. The escapement wheel does not look too bad. I do not see a whole lot of jumping around with it. So these three on both sides will probably have to be replaced on the strike side. And there's just a little bit of play, and the mainspring wheel I do think we'll be okay there. So we'll move on to the now to the strike side. Okay, now we're going to work on the strike side, so we're going to go ahead and start putting some of these pieces in place. We'll start off by placing the air governor in place, and then the warning wheel. And we'll go ahead and put this wheel in place. And then also this wheel here. This is the count wheel, and it goes on with a little clip that has to go in this small little hole over here. I'll go ahead and insert that, and then the main arbor. Try to go ahead without all the levers involved and put this plate on, and we're going to do it the same way we did earlier, which is to go ahead and use some of our movement nuts to hold it in place. So here we're going to go ahead and get a couple of these started so we can ease the wheels into place to check for worn pivots, or not worn pivots, but worn bushings. So here we do have this let's see if we can start getting some of these in place. Like I said, these are not the easiest movements to put back together. But I will guarantee you one thing: they're much easier to deal with than some of the more complex German movements. Which the German movements are really, really good, but these American movements are a little bit more simple. But if you ask me, any of them are aggravating to put back together. So here is the strike side. So we'll look at that. As you can see, it is moving freely. And you see the air governor is moving. So what we're going to do now is start checking the back of the movement for the same thing we did earlier, which is movement within those wheels, and we do have some questionable movement right here. Not too bad there, at least the initial check, but we can still see that movement jumping right here. That may be a little bit questionable. The warning wheel actually looks pretty good from what I can tell. And then the air governor. The air governor looks pretty good from the back as well. So let's look at the front. So we're on the front. And just real quickly, you know, what I did do, I don't know if you can see it or not, but I did mark these pivot holes from the time side where, you know, we'll be replacing those bushings. So again, this one here on this top side is still very questionable. wheel here does not look too good. There's a good bit of movement in that one. So it looks like these two. Again, the warning wheel does not look too bad. There might be just a little bit of movement. But the air governor bushing looks very good. Again, it potentially looks like these three. I do see just a little bit of movement in the warning wheel on the front side. But let's go back to the back side again and look at that same one. There may be some movement, so we may go ahead and replace those three. The air governor looks like it is okay. So we'll go ahead and get ready to mark these, and we'll get ready to replace, it looks like, potentially 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so about 12 bushings. Okay, we're back at the drill press, and what we're going to do now is to use a number 3 reamer to ream out the holes on this back plate to go ahead and get ready to install new bushings. But before we start, we're going to use a centering bit in our drill press adapter here for reamers in order to make sure that our plate and the bushing, the center of the bushing, is actually in place. So we'll take that centering point out now, and we'll put in the reamer bit, and we'll get that up in there, and we're going to lower that, and we're going to go ahead and get started with this. Okay, and there's the first hole. So we're going to just double check that hole real quickly and reinsert this reamer here. And make sure that we did get all the way down, and it looks like we did. So we're going to repeat this process for the other holes here. Okay, we'll go ahead and turn this on. Okay, so there's now 2 holes that we have reamed out. So now we'll repeat this process one last time on this side, using our centering bit. Come down and check for center. It does look like we're on center. Okay, so now we'll take that centering bit back out again. We'll put the reaming bit in place and go ahead and lower that bit down into position. Turn on the drill press. And ream that out. And then there you go. We have reamed out these 3 holes here, which we said needed to be done. So we're going to repeat the process over here for these 3 holes, and then I'm going to repeat the process on the front plate. This is the back plate here, and then once I'm done repeating the process, which will be 9 more times because there's 12 bushings we're having to replace, then we're going to go back to the workbench and we will install the new bushings into these holes. And so we're going to go ahead and repeat the process here and then complete the front plate as well. So we're going to go ahead and get that started, and while I'm finishing that, we'll go ahead and move the video over to the workbench and we'll finish there. Okay, I have moved the back or the front plate of the movement down here to the floor just to have a better position to push these bushings in with, but I put a metal plate down behind the movement. And what we're going to try to do, and don't know if you can see this or not, but this is the bushing. It's a 1.5 millimeter bushing, and one side is the oil sink that needs to go to the outside. On the other side it is flat. So we're going to put the oil sink side down, and this is a 1.5 inch bushing, so we're going to put it in the hole there. We're going to take our hammer and we're going to punch it in. And it should be punched in right there. And you can see the oil sink on the other side. So it looks like we did a good job there. So we'll move to the next one. This one also needs a 1.5 inch bushing. I'm going to go ahead and take that out of the package. And once again, we're going to make sure that we get the oil sink side face down. That looks like that one is still face up. There we go. I'm going to put that in there. And we're going to punch this down as well. See, we got both new bushings in, both with the oil sink out. And this hole here will take a 1.7 based on our measurements earlier. And I know that it sounds like, you know, we measured 1.52 and things like that, that it might take a little smaller bushing, but this actually allows for a perfect fit. We have our 1.7 bushing out. We're going to go ahead and move it over here in place. Use our little tweezers to put it into place. The oil sink side is down, and we punch in. So that side is done, and we'll repeat over here for the other side. Again, we'll go ahead and start. We'll start with the 1.7 one first, since we have that package closest by. So let's get all the ones we don't need back in. We'll get that one inserted down into the hole. punch in. And then now we'll move back to our 1.5 bore. This one with the oil sink side down. We'll put it in the hole there, and hopefully there won't be any need to broach. There we go, that one is punched in. So we got both of those punched in nicely. You can see. Hopefully you can see. Camera work's probably horrible on my part. And we'll put this last bushing on the front plate in. That side is oil sink up, so we want the oil sink side down. I'll get that put in there. I'm going to punch in. So there we go. Brand new bushings installed, 6 new bushings on the front plate. So now that the front plate is done, we'll repeat the same process on the back plate, and then we'll get ready to start looking at getting this movement back together. So we're going to go ahead and get started on this, and then we'll start getting that done, and we'll move to getting the back plate and front plate together. So this one is a little bit different than some 89 movements, and I'll explain real quickly, and you'll know why I'm going to get ready to use this piece of PVC coupling to hold it off the ground. Being an older 89 movement from 1910, this fast and slow pivot lever is actually riveted on right here, and some of the ones that come 1914 and after, they are screwed on with 2 screws right here that hold that in place. But we can't remove that. We have to be careful not to bend and break it. So what we'll do is we will raise this up a little bit, and we'll try to raise the camera as well as much as possible. I'm not sure if that's enough. There we go. And that way we can safely lay this here without doing any damage, and we can actually lay our plate across and actually punch these in. So what we'll do is get this into the best position to punch in, which is probably going to be right here. So once again, we're going to need, and we'll start off with some 1.5 bushings. And this will be one of those right here. We're going to get that put into place. We're going to push down on our plate and then punch it in. And there we go, that one's in. Do the same thing right here. Get another 1.5 inch bushing. Insert that into our reamed out hole. These things can get a little jumpy with a pair of tweezers. So you just have to be very careful. Get it in place. There we go. Well, we can hold this down. And we'll punch in. And we'll do the 1.7 right here. Let's see what I need a couple of those bushings for this back plate. So here's a 1.7. Again, make sure your oil sink side is down. You have to be very careful. There is a stem right there, which we avoided. So that side is in there. Okay. So we will go to the other side and repeat the process and do our best to keep it as flat as possible. So we'll again start with a 1.5 inch or 1.5 millimeter, not inch. That oil sink is turned up, so let's turn that over. Actually, that little bushing fell, so I'll have to find it. We'll just get another one right here and use it instead. And that oil sink is up, so we want the oil sink down. It is going toward the outside of the movement, so we'll go ahead and punch that one in. And we'll move to the next one. And we'll see if broaching is needed at all. Alright, so that's in place. Punch that down. And now we'll move to the 1.7 millimeter right here. We'll get that in place. Get it lined up, and now we can punch that in. And so now that movement, or the back plate of the movement, has all the new bushings in. So we'll now move back to the workbench and we'll get ready to start seeing how things fit back together.